Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the Grateful Gallivanters Podcast. I have a special guest, my good friend, my brother, Justin, aka Just Trek. He leads his own podcast and also his own hiking group. So in this episode, we're going to get into his roots in the outdoors, how he discovered it, and also how he founded his podcast and how he grew it to what it is today, which is over 90 episodes over the course of 5 years, which is pretty amazing. He's had some amazing guests on, some pioneers in the outdoor community, people that I too have also looked up to. So it's really exciting to be able to look back and watch and learn more about these outdoor greats in our community. And not only that, but also about Justin as a person. He is a genuine person, always kind, always respectful, very well liked in the community. And I really appreciate how he uses his platform for good, because that is also what I strive to do. So without further ado, we are going to begin this episode. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we get to know Justin on episode 5 of the Grateful Gallivanters Podcast. I have a very special guest here. This is my brother, my friend, a mentor to me. We've had a lot of great times together, and I'm grateful that he's in my life. This is Justin, the leader of Just Trek Hiking Group. This is a very special day for us because today we celebrate the 6th anniversary of his hiking group, and that is a hell of an accomplishment, man, that you've been around for that long. So take us through how Just Trek got started.
Oh man, taking me back in time, going down memory lane, right? So before I started Just Trek, I have to preface it with this. I've been living in Los Angeles for a very long time. I've moved out here in 2004 for college. I'm from the East Coast originally, Baltimore, Maryland. And ever since I've been living in LA, I feel like I've explored a lot of the different spaces and career paths, whether it's the dance world, marketing, food festivals, music festivals. But the one thing I never really got to explore in Los Angeles, because it's such a big city, such a big county, was I never explored the local trails or mountains. Like, yes, I've been to the beach because it's very accessible. Venice Beach, Santa Monica.
Malibu.
We're out here deep in Malibu, y'all. Like, it doesn't feel like we're anywhere near Los Angeles County. And it's just such a trip that we have so much here in SoCal, in Los Angeles specifically. Not many people think of LA as like the spot haven. So I went down this like life-changing journey the past 8 years of rediscovering Los Angeles through the great outdoors, through a different lens, something way different than my previous lifestyle. I was a dancer, I worked in marketing, I worked in the entertainment world for a little bit. So a lot of different spaces. And there was a time in my life where I got, I guess we'll just jump into it. I was going through a deep depression. I stopped dancing because that was a big part of my identity and being active in that community. And I just felt lost. I didn't have any purpose. I just felt like I was trying to find myself again. Because when you stop doing something that you've been doing for so long, whether it's basketball, dance, soccer, or whatever that passion or hobby or niche is, you feel like you lose yourself completely. And I was just filling that void in with like toxic people, toxic things, like not focusing on myself, like focusing on everybody else except myself. And so being lost and yearning for something different in my life here in Los Angeles, it just led me to having like the thought of, hey, I don't feel good and I need to get back into better shape. So I started going into the gym to get out of this depressive hole. I started feeling good about myself. And I was like, you know what can I do in the weekend that can supplement me going to the gym? I was like, well, I've never gone to the local trails in Malibu or the Santa Monica Mountains or the San Gabriel Mountains. I've only gone to beaches, the most accessible ones, never hiked up a trail or a big hill, except maybe the Culver City Stairs. That was it. And so, as I was just hiking with my one friend, and it was just also me doing solo hikes back in April 2017. And, I think you understand this as a solo hiker originally. As you start exploring all these trails and mountain peaks and parks, you gain this deep love for your environment, what's in your own backyard, and you want to share that with people.
Absolutely.
You want to bring people to these environments that have gave you so much healing, gave you so much clarity, improved your physical well-being, your mental health, your emotional health. And it's also just fun to like bring people to these places and show them a good time, right? Show them a new landscape. I really feel like hiking is traveling, you know, especially when you go to these more remote parts. So to answer your question, I know it's a bit long-winded. After I started like hiking on my own and with friends from the years April 2017 to 2019, I was like, I want to start my own group. But here's how it ties into the dance community and what I used to do prior. In the dance world, I was a hardcore b-boy, a breakdancer, and I was a part of many different breaking crews and dance crews. So I always had this crew mentality. So it was kind of like a seamless thought and transition when I got into hiking and I saw there was other outdoor groups and hiking crews. I was like, I want a crew. But this time, it's not going to be a crew of people representing on the dance floor, which I still love to do. It's going to be a crew of people, of like-minded people exploring our local trails and mountainscapes and just like discovering these hidden gems and treasures in our own backyard. Like it still trips me out to this day how much we have here in LA County and Southern California. And then if you go up north, there's just such a treasure trove of gems everywhere. It's like infinite places. So I finally had the thought, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to start the crew. I started in 2019 in August. So exactly 6 years ago, which is why we're here right now celebrating the 6-year anniversary of the Just Trek crew. And this is a very special recording that Grant is set up here right now because we are literally recording right after this event.
Yep.
I've been setting up since 6 a.m. We just ended the event maybe around, I don't even know what time it is anymore. It might be 3 p.m., 4 p.m.,
5, 6.
But we're here. We were together, you know, let's make this recording happen because you drove from very far away, Mount Laguna.
Yep.
Very appreciative of you and your support.
Sure.
And to go back to your question again, yeah, we started as sunset group hikes at the Culver City Stairs because I live in West LA. Something simple. It's a leg buster. And we did that for like 2 months. And then it was like, all right, what else can we do? You know, we started doing like some of the longer hikes, steeper trails. And then we branded it as the Just Trek crew, 2019, certified in August. So it's been a wild journey getting here to 6 years. It's 2025 right now. So, and you've been a part of the last 2-3 years. So
Yep. Yeah, I first became a part of this hiking community in February of last year, and I became a regular part, later in that spring, and we've attended quite a few group hikes together. But for those of you that don't know, Justin had a previous submission on the blog, and there was a part.
That's right.
Yep,
Yeah.
And there was a part that really I felt was a poignant story, and that was your discovery of Sandstone Peak. That's your, would you say that's your place that you like to go to escape from the world? Like, tell us more about that cathartic experience that you had there.
Oof. I always get emotional talking about Sandstone Peak, so hopefully I don't break down too much, but we have this hashtag for Sandstone Peak, Sandstone Forever. It always shows you how much it means, but
I still haven't been here yet.
The crazy thing is it's 15 minutes from here.
Oh my
20
gosh.
minutes. Might have to go right after this recording. So Sandstone Peak is a very sacred trail to me and a lot of the people in the crew because 4 weeks into my hiking and outdoor transformation, like I mentioned, I was going through a deep depression. I was going through a really, I just felt lost. And it was, those first few hikes made me feel better about myself, but the hike where I literally thought, or the hike that I literally felt I climbed out of that hole was when I did an accidental sunset hike at Sandstone Peak. And for those who may not be familiar, Sandstone Peak is the tallest mountain in the Santa Monica Mountains. It stands at 3,014 feet. It's the tallest one in the mountain range. It's very sacred to like the Chumash tribe. There's a trail that goes around it called the Mishmakwa. And when I experienced it by accident during sunset, you know, I've never done this trail before. I just discovered it on the Modern Hiker blog. You know, like, what are the best hikes in Los Angeles? It popped up. And being a newbie with my friend Mark Nieta, who was my episode 1 guest on the podcast, we just went out there like at 3 p.m., very far drive, deep in the canyons, driving very far up the hill. And it's just so crazy that I think that the first time we experienced it was for sunset. And I did not have a clue how life-changing that experience was going to be because I tell you guys, like it felt like a real hike. The trail was rocky. It was not super steep, but it was steep enough where you're like breaking a good sweat. I did the short route. It was 1.5 miles up, but it was like a workout.
The views are epic there.
Yeah, 360 panoramic views. You can see Channel Islands on a clear day, Catalina. You could see Oxnard, Ventura County. You could see Mount Baldy on a clear day.
Baldy?
I've seen Baldy snow capped from there.
Wow.
And when I got up there, I had a moment right before the peak, right before the summit. I was like really exhausted. I found this like little steep rock scramble route to the top. I was like, oh, that looks like it goes to the top. And I just remember I started climbing up it, and I just stopped on the side of the hill, and I sat on this rock, and I looked out into the mountainscape. It was like those infinite mountain layers. And I tell you, Grant, like this sense of peace and stillness came over my mind and soul that it's just hard to describe. Like I hadn't felt that in so long. It felt like it was like everything's gonna be okay. Like this view is so far reaching. It feels so infinite. It made me feel like, I feel like when you experience the vastness of nature, you realize you really have infinite potential in your life.
Nature is really, it's a drug, and it's
The healthiest drug.
Yeah, a healthy drug. You don't have to go to the doctor to get a prescription. It's right here in our backyard. So yeah, building on what we were talking about earlier, I really didn't travel locally before I started hiking with the Just Trek crew. It was really going with them. Like we've been to Topanga Canyon. We've been to we had a nighttime hike over, what was the Trippy hike?
Trippy Trails at Trace Club.
Yeah, Trace Club.
Verdugo Mountains. I think?
Verdugo Mountains. So they opened my eyes to LA, and there's a lot of places to do. Even after the fires of January, there's still a lot to do. But that was a hell of a time, and I want to give Justin his flowers, because once those the Eaton fire and the Palisades fire, once those fires hit, he was involved in the community. He scheduled donation drop-offs. He scheduled supply drop-offs.
With Vic and LA Trail Killers.
Vic and shout out to Vic, LA Trail Killers. So take us through that period, how you were able to rally the community together.
I mean, I got to give it up to everybody else. I mean, Vic set up a distribution center. He turned the, I always butcher this, I feel bad. Flow Wellness.
Yeah. Body Wellness.
What is the name?
Flow Body and Wellness. I believe we'll get that. We'll get that correct.
We'll get it correct. Sorry, Esther Lucia. So when they set up that distribution, they set up their wellness center as a distribution center. I was just like, yo, like, thank you for providing that for all of us to jump in and now help and make it easier for us. It only just takes one person. So, that was that was at the beginning of the year. Yeah. It was literally the first week of the new year. Yeah. Like, what a shitty way to start the new year. Like, it was literally the end of the world. And
felt like that.
Yeah, it's just like, the beautiful thing about the hiking community is everyone's already so helpful. Everyone's willing to help you on the trail and just support you in whatever way they can. So when all of us collectively, whether it's LA Trail Killers or all the nonprofits or the other hiking groups hosting donation drives, we're all reposting, we're all driving out there to help or donate things. It just feels natural to us. And especially, these are the trails that we recreate on weekly. So it was just a no-brainer to fit in where I could and just help in whatever ways. I was joining other nonprofits like Walk Out LA. I was a drop-off driver, driving to the different people's houses, actually distributing the stuff. That was really special to do that. It was just such a horrendous time, but also the most beautiful time in the community, because I always feel like the human spirit burns brightest in the darkest times. And those are always the silver linings that come out when there's a natural disaster or just tragedy.
So one of the themes that we center on the podcast is gratitude. What about the community during that time? How they galvanized and came together? Like, what did that period of time teach you about gratitude?
Wow. It's a big question.
Yeah.
Deep question.
Yeah.
What did that period of time teach me about gratitude?
Or rather, I'll rephrase it. Did it change your definition of gratitude?
when I process that question in my mind, I'm still processing it. Gratitude during that period of time, during the LA historic fire crisis, was really interesting because a lot of iconic trails got burnt down. So I had a few different perspectives and thoughts. One perspective was like, I had gratitude in the sense of, wow, thank God that I explored some of these places
before
it got burnt down, because with this specific fire, it literally burnt down historical structures.
Yeah.
Echo Mountain, Inspiration Point, Murphy's Ranch is gone. These places are never going to be back. So from that perspective alone, it made me realize, like, Justin, good thing you got out there like numerous times and didn't wait, and you pulled the trigger to explore these trails while they're there. And I think that's the important lesson
with
of
other
gratitude.
people too.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So in terms of gratitude, just like thinking like, wow, I got to experience these places before they got forever changed. And yes, a lot of the trails that were burned will come back to life but that's like 3 to 4 years.
Yep.
But still, there are a lot of trails, like visitor centers were burned down, historical structures. Those are not coming back. So I think what it taught me about gratitude is like, you got to be so in the moment when you're out on these trails. And also, if you want to do something, do it ASAP or do it sooner rather than later. Because like we were talking about on your episode on the podcast, the North Rim of the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of that's forever changed.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about it. It was at the time the fire had started, and I was gushing about it. And then 2 months later, they got a really bad fire, and the Grand Canyon North Rim Lodge got lost. And it goes back to what you were just saying, is that I actually stayed there with my father and my uncle in 2016, and we have fond memories, cracking jokes, drinking champagne together.
Wow.
Yeah, so luckily we got to do it. So it's like what he was saying. It was the same thing with me. Like, if I had hiked with Just Trek, Outdoor Adventure Plus, LA Trail Colors, I would have never even hiked like Eaton Canyon, which got burned. Murphy Ranch, we had a Halloween hike there last year, Outdoor Adventure Plus. I feel gratitude that I decided to go these hikes, to not stay in bed, to get out of bed and make these drives. And so, like, you never know when a place could change. In January, building off what we were talking about, the LA wildfire, you had made a special episode where you were basically discussing your feelings on the wildfire. And I told you at the time that it was very riveting. And the part that, I felt was riveting was when you had Casey Schreiner on your episode a couple years ago. And he's a legend in the outdoor community, because it seems like every trail known to man, he has built a short summary and a profile. So he said something that resonated with me, which was, you have to appreciate things for how they are in a moment. Because like, I've been on hikes where I have Sequoia, for example. I went there before 2020. I remember how it was lush green pine trees, sequoias, and then I go back 4 years later and it's burnt down. And so it wasn't until listening to your special episode where I truly learned the value of stopping and appreciating things for how they are, because you never know how it changed. So with that being said, did that episode, listening back to it, did it change your perspective of how you approach a hike?
Yes, in many different ways. I know when you go to a trail, do your best to like hyper be present and be aware, because you don't know when you return to how it's going to look like. Certain vegetation, is it going to be burned down? Does it got historical structures? But it's interesting you bring up that the Casey Schreiner, the founder of Modern Hiker. It's crazy to me that that's one of the internet's oldest hiking blogs.
Yeah.
But I think the section you're talking about, he mentioned something that it felt kind of healing too. He was like, wildfires and what we're going through, and like these historic times that at the beginning of the year, he said, these fires also teach you not to get attached to these things. And what he was trying to reference is like, this is how nature is. Wildfires is nothing new to Southern California or California. Obviously, this wildfire was historic because it burned down whole urban communities. So in that way, it's way different. But he was just saying, like, this is the course of nature. Like, it also teaches you, like, not to get too attached. Yes, your favorite trail will probably get burned down at some point. But you know what? Nature's resilient. It will grow back at some point. And it was so true because my favorite hike of all time, Sandstone Peak, was burnt to the ground in the Woolsey fire back in 2018.
Oh, that's right.
And I was shattered. I was heartbroken because when I returned back, charred, no brush, none of the coastal sage scrub ecosystem, all gone at the peak, all gone on the way up, all charred, deep black branches. I was like, I didn't even want to return back. I was like, I can't see it like this.
Yep.
But when I hear back to that episode and how Casey was describing, like, this is what it is, though. You can't get too attached because these places will change. And it was like an acceptance of the reality of, the natural landscapes and how they're being affected nowadays by the fires.
And it's grown back pretty nicely.
Oh, it's Sandstone Peak is back to its full glory, I would say.
Yeah. So it took about 3 or 4 years.
Exactly,
longer.
2 to 4 years.
Yeah. So, yeah, but every time I'm on a hike now, like being a mountain lagoon, I live right next to the PCT. So each day I have that ringing in my head is just, I appreciate it for what it is now. But you had also brought up how being mindful on the trail is important. And switching gears here, going back to the community, you and I speak a lot about being mindful with the people that we, build relationships with. We want to approach each relationship with intention. So as being leader of Just Trek and growing your community, what has that taught you about dealing with people and about intention itself?
Oh, man. I feel like on these group hikes and, organizing these group adventures and leading the Just Trek crew, I feel like these conversations I have on trails with so many people on these group hikes, they feel very real. So it feels very intentional because it's not, what's your job? It's not this social ladder climbing. It's more like, how are you? Where are you from? Who are you?
Yeah.
So just being out in nature, what it's taught me is like, it allows everyone to just be more intentional with each other. People can just act as everyday humans with each other more so in the great outdoors and nature. I really feel it strips you of your identity in a good way. It brings you back to your raw self and you can just connect as everyday humans.
Yep.
So what it's taught me is that I love to talk to people in nature and on hikes, and I want to keep doing it because I feel like you get someone's real self when you're walking along the beach, walking up a trail, because you're also sometimes suffering. So you're getting like this, the sweat, you're huffing and puffing. If you're a girl, maybe your makeup's like coming off, so you just don't care at some point. So you're just letting it all out there. I think what also running the Just Trek crew, like the whole intentionality thing is, it's crazy sometimes because sometimes people at different events will, after the event or during it, they'll bring up like, yo, like, thank you, I needed this. I was going through some personal stuff in my life and I didn't like know what to do. And I saw you at a group hike and I just took a chance and decided to join. And especially in those moments when they bring that, I try to be as intentional as I can because they're opening themselves up to you. They're sharing something vulnerable when they don't even really know you like that. So I think what it's taught me just running Just Trek is to slow down, really listen to what people are saying, what they're not saying, also reading nonverbal gestures, and just being a better listener. I feel like nature unlocks this really spiritual intentionality of how we can go about our everyday lives.
Yeah, that's very well said. Talking about suffering earlier, there's not just physical suffering, but mentally suffering. That we had a member of our community open up to us just today about loss that she's gone through in her family. And some people feel vulnerable opening up, and some people don't have a community to open up. And that's what I feel like. There's a lot of beauty in the Just Trek community because the members have been around for a couple years and we know each other. And even though we may not be blood family, we are, a family who cares about each other. Like for me, you brought up earlier how I was a solo hiker. Like I wasn't part of a hiking group up until I met you and Juan from Outdoor Adventures Plus. And
what a day that was! Rocky Peak Summit Trail,
Rocky Peak Summit, Star Wars,
The Mandalorian.
Yeah, and just going there. Seeing you and Juan, playing with the lightsaber, like, yeah, that was a funny moment. And then there's a picture that I love of us all being on a rock and just laughing together. And shout out to Becca. I am Becca, very talented photographer. And shout out to Ivan, Hikes and Mikes. Yep. And then shout out to Elizabeth and Day.
Look at this. This is dope.
Yep.
You're gonna get this in the shot.
So this is this is an example right there of
this is community love, right?
Community, yeah, that's the perfect timing. So they just met today, and now they're very good friends. So you know, especially these days, being at the stage of life that it's hard to make friends. Like when we were kids, we could just go to the playground and just make friends, and it's very hard to do these days. And one hike is all it takes to make a difference. So with you, like I've opened up with you multiple times about deep stuff, and you've helped me out a lot. So I just want to give you your flowers, man. I'm grateful for you, and you know, using your platform to help people in their mental health. So we talked about intention and how having Just Trek running, you know, that group has taught you about intention. Has it made you analyze mental health deeper?
Ooh, love this question. It's made me rethink everything about mental health. I think getting out in nature and just getting outside is essential for your mental health. Like when I don't hike, I try to hike at least once a week. If I'm not hiking at least once a week, I feel off.
Yep.
Like there's just something so special about the healing properties of nature. Like right now, I feel so amazing. We feel this ocean breeze. There's something about a breeze on the ocean or on a ridge. Like it's just like, it makes you feel like everything's going to be all right. It feels refreshing. You feel renewed. Yeah, it's, you know, people, and I know people have therapists too, and that's just as important because, you know, you need several tools sometimes, right? In terms of mental health, how to tackle it. Nature, other passions or physical activities, and whatnot. And one thing that I really realized, at least as it relates to myself, is how exercise in nature really drastically improves mental health. Specifically in nature, like, yes, you can get that at the gym too, but I think when you're in a mountain in a very inspiring landscape, it really opens up your mind in the sense that you're seeing these beautiful views, you're observing the wildlife, the plants, what's ever happening around you. It forces you to be present, which is something insanely hard to do just in our everyday lives.
Yeah, especially in the hustle bustle of SoCal.
Yeah, so that's how like it's made me look at like mental health. It's just like I feel like it's crucial for me to be out here to maintain a sharp mind, to remain in my purpose, to keep me on the right track.
You had touched on personal mental health and how being in nature is important for it. Knowing that you not only have a platform as a leader of the Just Trek hiking group, you also have a platform for Just Trek, the podcast, and you've had many guests on. How many episodes have you had so far?
90? We're at 90 plus.
90 plus.
And I've done 30 Instagram lives, so if you factor that in, over 100.
And throughout all those lives, mental health comes up a lot.
A lot.
So how has operating those two platforms of the hiking group and the podcast, how has that shaped your view of mental health within the community?
We're all going through something.
Absolutely.
Every single person. Yes, some may be much more deeper and much more intense, but everybody is going through something with their mental health. They're just not saying it.
Scared to say it.
Scared to say it, worried about saying it, embarrassed, especially men.
Yeah.
It's hard for us to open up about this kind of stuff. Yeah. Thank God the past several years there's been a big movement of men, you know, really opening up about it, you know. So it's made me realize also when we have these guests and they open up, we're not alone either. Although we're all dealing with it. Like, I love it when the guests talk about like a story of them improving their mental health or how this experience like healed them from their depression. Those are the most riveting stories because this is what binds all of us. It's just like, it's humanity.
Yes.
We're all going through some kind of mental struggle in our mind, whether it could be career oriented, relationship oriented, maybe a traumatic incident happened in your childhood. Maybe you lost a loved one. We're all dealing with something. I think that's why we have to approach everyone with as much compassion as we can. Because on any given day, you don't know if someone's just lashing out because they just lost like a family member.
Yeah.
Like I try to do my best, and I guess this also goes around with the intentionality thing, is like I try to be a good person to everybody as best as I can, because you don't know what they're going through on any given day. And you showing love or supporting them or giving their flowers or just helping them a little bit in whatever capacity, just listening at the end of the day, that might change their life for that year.
Absolutely.
It might change the trajectory of them not doing a certain thing, like jumping off that. I'm not trying to be all dramatic here, but like doing that thing they were thinking about, contemplating maybe suicide. I don't know.
Yep. So we had touched on your podcast, how you have over 90 guests. When did you form it? What year?
I started it, you'll like this. I launched the Just Right podcast at the height of the pandemic on my birthday, March 31st, 2020.
What inspired you to start it?
Great question. So this was March, when I launched the podcast, it was at the end of March. And during that time, we were going through the global pandemic. My God, it's like, what, half a decade ago? Really trippy to even acknowledge that.
2 weeks we're going to be...
Little did we know how the world was going to change. My goodness. And, you know, just as I felt and you felt and the whole community felt, you know, they started shutting everything down, local businesses, the streets were empty. But what really took us all aback was they started closing down the outdoors. I didn't even know you could do that. They started closing down our local mountains, our local parks. And I just remember how upset and depressed I started feeling, because this is what I do on a weekly basis. I go out on adventure. I bag peaks. I do nature strolls.
Your therapy.
It's my therapy. It's my exercise. There's so much multiple benefits. It's for my physical, my mental, my spiritual, my emotional. You always hear everybody list it because it's true. That's what's so amazing about doing this activity. It serves so many purposes. And to answer your question, when everything started shutting down, in nature, especially all our parks, I just had this epiphany in my mind. I was just like, yo, I'm going to go crazy if I don't pour my soul into something and get creative again. And I said, well, if I can't be in the outdoors, I'm going to talk about it and share my story and amplify other people's voices in the community, friends on Instagram that I've met, and pour my soul into this project. And we've done it for 5 years now. You were witness to that, you know?
Yep.
We're celebrating today 6 years of the Just Trek crew, the LA-based hiking group, but Just Trek is also the Just Trek podcast, an outdoor adventure podcast where we have all kinds of guests. And that's why I started it. I was just like, I needed to pour my soul into something so that I wouldn't, one, go crazy, and then two, I wanted to start like a legacy project, a project where I would start it, and even if I was gone, it would live on. So I had that thought too. So podcasting kind of popped into my mind because I was actually trying to do like these audio trip reports. I don't know if I ever told you this.
No.
I had a Mount Whitney trip report. I had a trip report for another mountain or adventure I did. I'm blanking out, Half Dome. And I never told this story actually. I was trying, because a trip report is a very long like narrative that you write. And I was trying to do it in like audio format. And I was like literally just reading it line by line of what I wrote on my blog.
Were you submitting it to anyone in particular, or is it just for your own?
Oh, I put it on my website so that other people, so people read trip reports to get beta to see how your journey went that day. So it's for them to, it's storytelling mixed in with like what to be aware of and how to prepare for this hike.
Which is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hence report, right?
Interesting.
You get a lot of information from it. And I was like, man, this feels kind of bland also just reading this. Like, should I just start a podcast and have conversations? So that was another thought that came into my mind when I started it too, that I never really have spoken about on some of the podcasts that I've been on.
Yeah, I didn't know that personally. That's a really cool story how you graduate from that point to having guests. And you've had some amazing guests. Like one of the episodes that I found, I mean, you've had a lot of guests. Like shout out to Ivan Hikes and Mics.
Ivan just saw recently.
Yep. Yeah.
In Seattle.
Yeah. You guys met up there. That was pretty cool. That's the power of community. But
exactly.
So he's one of the guests, but there was one guest in particular that I was really captivated by, and he's an OG, an elder, Alan Salazar.
Oh, that's so awesome you brought up that episode.
Yeah, a Native American elder. I feel like there's not as many elders these days to tell the stories of their native people. Tell me about how you felt during that episode.
Grant, like recording that episode, I was just like kind of almost like in awe and like kind of starstruck. I couldn't believe it was happening. That was a very, once in a while, there's some episodes that I have on the podcast or guest where it's like a major turning point. And he was like such an important guest for me to have on because it was our first ever tribal elder on the show.
Yeah.
A very esteemed tribal elder.
Yes.
We're talking about, this is a tribal elder that presided over the burial of P-22. And having that person, Alan Salazar, Chumash tribe, Fernandinho Tataviam, I couldn't believe the recording was happening. And it's important to amplify, especially the indigenous voices, as much as you can, because people think they're relics of the past. Like, no, they're still out here putting in the work, trying to reclaim their land, trying to educate people about what their tribes did, what they continue to do in terms of conservation and whatnot. Doing that episode was very near and dear to my heart. Like that definitely goes down as like one of the most important episodes I've ever recorded on the show.
And you two had met at an event by chance.
This is a great story. So one day, the YouTube algorithms just sometimes shows you things you didn't know you would be very interested in. And what happened was I was just perusing on YouTube and this random Patagonia film popped up and it was entitled Chumash Powered. And who was the main character? It was Alan Salazar. Chumash tribe, lives in Ventura County, and it was talking about how they were bringing back the tradition of Chumash plant canoes and riding out to Channel Islands.
Yeah.
That sacred pilgrimage for them. That's what they did for tens of thousands of years. They would be here on the mainland and they would make these pilgrimages out to the Channel Islands. I think the indigenous name was Limu, I think. And it was like this grand welcoming, like the original inhabitants of Channel Islands, this incredible national park here in Southern California. It's
right out there somewhere.
It's somewhere out there. Like it's made up of like 5 islands, I think. Like the original inhabitants were the Chumash tribe.
Yeah, that it was really riveting hearing that story because they would go canoe at night. So they couldn't really see what was in front of them. Yeah, so those are just stories you don't really hear nowadays. We're very, like you said, Native American people, their population's not very big, so it's important that they tell their story. And just having OGs that have been there, that have lived life, long, that they had elders, before them. So what has had guests like Alan Salazar, what has that taught you about the value of culture?
Ooh. What it's taught me about the value of culture is that we all come from different cultures and we need to be open to learning more about each other so that we can all get through this life and have this coalition of people fighting for the same thing. Because although we all have different cultures, different backgrounds, we come from different countries or states, I think we all have much more in common than we think.
Yep.
When you learn about people's different cultures, you find out there's a lot of similarities, but then there's a lot of differences in the cuisine, how people operate in their life. But it's the differences that are so beautiful. That's what makes it unique. How do they, traditionally prepare this meal, or what are their rituals that they do with their family? I think what it's taught me about culture, the podcast, is like everybody comes from something special. Even if you don't think it's special, it's your culture, it's your unique story. And especially, man, the culture of the Native Americans. I mean, you can go down the rabbit hole with that. And unpeel the onion. It's a very sad and dark history. What happened to them in their culture and the almost erasure of it. But it's a lot of nonprofits and people like Alan Salazar that are fighting to preserve their heritage and their culture. And they need allies like us. That's why I want to amplify his voice on the podcast. You know, I really pride with the Just Trek podcast of having all kinds of outdoor enthusiasts, tribal elders, mountaineers, DJs that have an infatuation with outer space, founders of hiking groups, surfers. Like, we want them all because all different backgrounds, different cultures, different perspectives.
So we talked a lot about Alan Salazar and the type of impact he's had on humanity as a whole. Would you say that was your most impactful episode? Okay, I got a question. Okay. I just have to rephrase it. So we discussed the episode on Alan Salazar and how impactful that was. Was there a particular episode where you're in the middle of recording and you're like, you know what? I found my purpose, you know, giving people a voice. This is my way of helping humanity.
That's a really good question, Grant.
This is
freestyle on that.
Yeah, so we're doing this freestyle,
wow.
y'all.
Okay, let me go through my mind. That is an incredibly great question. An episode that was like, I'm in my purpose.
Yes.
I love that. Okay. Discovered Sandstone Peak was because of Casey Schreiner, the Modern Hiker blog. I was just typing in Google and it was his blog and article that I came across from it, and the way it was written, it was like poetry about Sandstone Peak, the way he wrote it. And so it just inspired me to go out there accidentally for sunset and to be able to interview and have a conversation with the people, with him specifically, the person that led me to the life-changing hike. That was very life-changing because I was like, I'm in my purpose. I just had a very full circle moment right now. I had the person who has been this esteemed figure in the hiking and outdoor communities for so many years. He has Discovering Griffith Park, an LA Times bestselling book. I'm day hiking Los Angeles, cloud spotting. He doesn't live in LA anymore. He lives in Oregon, but having him on the pod, and I just remember this is crazy. Like, I don't know if I mentioned this, like, we followed each other, but he hit me up. He's like, yo, I'd be down for a conversation. And I was like,
you up?
Yeah, and the DMs. And I was like, we had like would message back and forth, and he saw I had a podcast and he just threw it out there. I was like, no way.
I didn't know that.
No
I thought you reached out to him.
I mean, I reached out to it's like a mixture.
It is.
But it's those moments where like you're connecting with someone and they see what you got going on. They're like, hey, I'd be down for a conversation. And you're like, wow, wait, what?
Yeah. Casey Schreiner, there's been a few hikes in particular where I've looked up and his names came up. So the fact that he reached out to you is
very
pretty
cool.
But that is quite an accomplishment and shows how far you've gotten with your platform.
Yeah, it's like those moments where it makes you realize like, oh, I'm on the right path. I'm doing it. I'm doing the thing. Because oftentimes when you do a podcast, you feel like you're talking into the abyss. You don't really know who's listening or paying attention. So that was a very important moment, you know, having the hiking guy on, Chris Hazard, another very influential figure that has served so many in the community with his trail guides, you know, similar to Modern Hiker and Casey Schreiner, but also very different with how he runs his platform. Another very pivotal episode.
Jacqueline Cosgrove,
but actually connected to her was Mary Forgione, the original editor of The Wild, the LA Times, because she's much older. So she's a whole life of adventures and perspectives. And then to have Jacqueline Cosgrove, like in that lineage, was so special. And another very pivotal episode that made me realize I was in my, you know, like on the right path, or that I'm in my purpose, was Carla Amador, founder of the 52 Hike Challenge. You know, like that episode will go down as one of the most important episodes I ever recorded, just because of how so powerful it was. You know, Carla Amador is a force of nature. When she speaks, you listen. And it's a very like emotional, riveting, like kind of thing. Like there's a lot of moments on that episode that everyone will learn so much from and gain so much healing and clarity on their lives. Like she is such an important person in this community. She's very spiritual. She's very intentional. Her platform, her story about, you know, like how the 52 Hike Challenge got started. Very, very powerful. Who else? Man, there's so many. We want to talk about Alan Salazar.
As many people as possible.
But yeah, that's some of the few people. Um, yeah, that's off the top, but there's many more that were like very remotivating moments of keep doing it, Justin, because I've had a lot of moments doing this podcast too, where I'm like, okay, I had a good run. Should I keep it going? Should I put it on the shelf? I'm either getting too burnt out or I'm trying to like figure something out in my personal life. But doing those episodes with those kind of people is very it's very how would I say it? It's very humbling. Humbling, and I'm very grateful for it because it lets me know that the work is circulating and people are tuning in and learning and being inspired. And that means the most to me because to circle back, when I started this project, I want it to be a legacy project where if I'm gone, these conversations live on and keep affecting people for years to come, hopefully decades.
So seeing the example that he set with his podcast, he actually inspired me to start my own podcast. And it's my hope that I continue to have guests whose stories resonate with the audience, because all it takes is one person listening, tuning in. Like we said earlier, we don't know what they're going through, but if they feel like, you know what, yeah, I want to try the 52 hike challenge, or you know what, I want to go look up the hiking guy. I want to look up Casey Schreiner. I want to see what these hikes are. That's what it takes for them to save themselves.
Oh, Jeff Hester, the founder of the SoCal Six Pack of Peaks Challenge. Another, like, I feel like a lot of those remotivating moments were people that I've entered their challenges or I've been reading their blog and I'm like, oh my God, they're a guest on the show. Like,
Starstruck.
I'm like,
yeah,
this is happening.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to switch into rapid fire questions here. So first one, what's the most memorable hike you've been on?
There's too many, man. I mean, I could talk about the life-changing sunset at Sandstone Peak, which I've talked about way too many times, but I'm gonna give you something different. I feel like everyone always talks about this mountain, but we all have a story with it. Like, definitely high up there, if not the top one, top three, is my day hike of Mount Whitney, the tallest mountain in the continental U.S., just because of everything that happened that day. You know, long story short, it was the longest day of my life. It was the most overwhelming and also the most beautiful day of my life at the same time. So many parts of the day that I can't get out of my mind. And also so many things that happened. I mean, we had a person in our group that had to get helicoptered out, which led us to having to be on the mountain for 22 and a half hours. 22 and a half hours, Grant, almost a full day.
And you couldn't go on the helicopter back, right?
So this is a key thing. When the helicopter comes to save the injured party, they can't bring the friends along because of a weight issue. So you could have only imagined, we were like, wow, we have to hike in the dark now for 7 miles. Just the whole day was insane. You know, I was on my friend's permit. Like, you start this hike at like midnight or 2 a.m. and you're hiking through the night. At that time, it was like under the moon. So that was insane. The sunrise at Trail Crest, probably one of the most gorgeous sunrises I've ever seen in my life. Getting to Trail Crest, seeing both sides of Mount Whitney with the glacier lakes. The 1.9 miles to get to the summit is the longest 1.9 miles ever. It feels like 10 miles, that 1.9 miles. You know, the people that I did it with, I had been doing some of this SoCal Six Pack of Peaks Challenge training. So really awesome group. Shout out to Kate Tresso, episode 9. Thank you for inviting me on your permit. Shout out to Katie Bizak, which was the one that actually had to get helicoptered out. That's its own podcast episode. But that day was just so memorable in many different aspects, just because of the drama that happened, the beauty of the mountain, and just doing something so challenging for myself. You know, like, although I was like dying and suffering inside after the hike, after that day, I felt like this kind of, you know, when you do something so challenging and you conquer it, you feel like invincible, you know? You feel like you carry that momentum in your everyday life and you're like, I did that. What else can I do? In your career, in your relationship, in your passion projects. It's just one of the most memorable days ever, man. I mean, it's the tallest mountain in the continental U.S. And the manner of how I experienced it had the drama, it had the suspense, it had a helicopter, it had hiking in the dark.
Yeah.
There's many very suspenseful moments I could riff-raff about. We'd be here for another hour, but that Mount Whitney journey back in 2019, I'll never get out of my mind. Definitely most memorable, one of the most memorable ever days of my life. Not even just hiking or the outdoors, just of my entire living.
It's a pretty powerful statement. So question 2, what's a place that you feel like is your sanctuary that if you're having a tough time that you go back to and realize that everything's okay? I might know the answer to this.
You already know. It's always back to me. It's but specifically, it's a sunset pilgrimage to Sandstone Peak via the Mishmako Trail. If I'm going through like a rough time of my life and I need to reset or I need to get my mind off something, I'll make that drive so I can reset myself.
It's very important to have those places in nature where we can go to and heal. So that was a very powerful story, and I hope to go on a sunset hike with you guys in the near future.
That'll happen. Yeah, we'll recruit you into the Sandstone Forever cult.
Sounds good. Yeah. So question 3, what's a quote that you heard recently that really resonated with you? Or any quote in your life that has resonated with you? I'm sure there's a lot.
Oh, yes. If you can change your physiology, you can change your psychology. Let that sink in. And I heard this quote from this brain performance coach. His name is Jim Quick. He's like been the brain performance coach for very high performing individuals like Elon Musk, Will Smith, different industries. And I heard that quote when I was just getting into my hiking and outdoor journey, and it just resonated so profoundly because if you start with movement and exercise, it opens up your mind to changing your psychology of how you look at yourself. And I know this is rapid fire, so I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Okay. Question 3. You and I have been on quite a few hikes together, sometimes with Just Trek, sometimes with a collaboration. What's been your favorite hike that I've been a part of?
Man, we've been on a lot already.
Yep.
Might have to be the first one. You know, meeting you for the first time and actually recognizing your voice being on the Hikes and Mike's podcast.
Knowing my handle, but knowing my name.
And actually putting a face to the voice. That was so memorable just because it was a very special collaboration too. You know, the Mandalorian Star Wars group hike, it was a signature flagship event. Yeah, I had to say that.
It's a great answer. Mine, I'd have to say, was honestly probably today.
Oh, today.
It was very fun. We hiked up a peak and it had great mountain views and just the vibes were great all day. And then we went in the ocean and I got pretty sunburned, but it was totally worth it because the vibes were great.
Always worth it.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this community is that the vibes are always great here. So we had a great day today.
Yeah, what a day.
Yeah, what a day, no question. But question 4, and I think you'll appreciate this one. Where are your travel plans for the rest of 2025? Where are you looking to go?
The rest of my travel plans?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We're in the second half of the year. It's gone by pretty quick.
You know, it's interesting when people ask me this question, or I always feel like they think like it's like travel like internationally, right? I look at travel so differently now. I look at like hiking is travel. So I think traveling is like going in my own backyard of like the Santa Monica Mountains or the San Gabriel Mountains.
That absolutely counts.
But one place very high on my list is Oaxaca, Mexico, and also I got to do that volcano trek in Guatemala. I got to make that happen. I know it's getting very popularized and trendy now, so I want to do it before it gets too busy.
That would be
Volcán del Fuego. So Guatemala and Oaxaca.
And you have those for later in the year?
I might pull the trigger on the volcano trek. Maybe do it with Vamos Hiking Crew. We'll see.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Hitting up
YOLO. Yeah, YOLO.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet, but I think I'm going to pull the trigger.
Hopefully you do. So question 5, and I like to ask my guest this question. What is advice that you would tell your younger self?
Stop overanalyzing, stop overthinking. Things will be okay.
Which can be hard to do.
Yeah, especially with my mind coming from an event organizer. You kind of have to worry about a lot of different things. So it's like hardwired into you. But I think it's a gift and a curse, you know?
It's So yeah, it's accurate way of looking at it, because there's so many people we talk to on a daily basis. There's so many things we do, and it's easy to kind of think like, oh, how's this person feel about me? Oh, did I do a good job?
Yeah. Even like with this event, like you saw me running.
Put a lot of work into it.
Like in my mind, everything has to be so perfect. And then when something little is not perfect, I trip out, and then I have to realize, like, wait, everybody's enjoying. They don't even notice the imperfections of what I am perceiving.
Yeah.
So I have to calm my mind and just kind of just like check myself.
Be mindful in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great answer. So that concludes episode 3 of the Grateful Gallivanters Podcast. Justin, you're not only a friend to me, but you're my brother and my mentor. Very appreciative to have you on the podcast. Just keep doing what you're doing, brother. You're setting a wonderful example for the community. You've used your platform for good. And I hope today that what we talked about resonated with some of you, because all it takes is one person to be speaking, to have their message resonate with someone, to make them realize that they're not alone, that you don't have to be okay all the time, that we're all struggling. So just want you all to know that everything's going to be okay in the end, and, everything's going to work out. So my brother, pleasure having you on, and I'm sure that, you're going to be a repeat guest in the future.
Let me know.
Yeah, we're going to have you back on. Yep, but until next time, peace.
We out here, baby.
We out here. Woo!
Best podcast studio setting right here.
That's right. That's right.
Setting.
Yep. The seagulls are not paid guests.
They're not paid actors.
Yeah.